everyone, Baker on the Dark Side. Okay, so now we are ready for part 3, which is the cheesecake. And I know you guys are probably really surprised. You're like, is she really gonna make cheesecake? I have my trusty little book here. I had when I had my business with all my recipes in it, all laminated. And so this cheesecake base is going to be pumpkin. So we're gonna make a pumpkin cheesecake. So I have beat 2 8-ounce bricks of cream cheese for a good 5 minutes, like you want it nice and soft. So I've done that already, to spare you that. Putting in half a cup of sugar, white granulated sugar, and we're going to start beating that. And as I'm going, I'm going to add the spices. Half a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. So we're going to whip that up. And then I have 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. This is what I'm using as my thickener. I use cornstarch because it's thinner than flour and it makes it nicer. So this is going to beat up. And we're going to just scrape it really well. The key thing about baking is that you want to make sure that everything is incorporated really well. Take the time to get yourself a really good scraper and make sure that you scrape out the paddle and you scrape out the bowl all the way to the bottom. It's a pain, but it really makes the difference between your recipe coming out good or not. So now that I've done that, and I will tell you that bakers sometimes use their hands. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, they're gloved, but they do. So I've got that started. I'm gonna throw the pumpkin in. This is half a cup of pumpkin. Doesn't need a ton of pumpkin. Now, you would double this recipe if you wanted to make a large cheesecake. I am making a half sheet cheesecake. And I have a filling, so I don't need as much. So I'm gonna mix that up, whip the crap out of it. I wish I had one of those clear bowls where you could see. Maybe somebody will send me one. I lift the bottom of the bowl a little bit because I like to make sure it hits the bottom. Smells great. So once again, I'm going to scrape this. I'm going to scrape this whole thing because you can see that there's a whole bunch of cream cheese still stuck to this paddle. Well, you can't see, but I can see, and it bugs me. So we're going to do that. I'm going to scrape the crap out of it again. You want to make sure you're scraping it everywhere. The top, the bottom, the paddle, all of it. You want to make sure, and it's really getting smooth. You see that? Okay. You want to really, this stage is the most important with the cheesecake. Making it smooth in the beginning. No lumps. Okay. Whipping the crap out of it before you put the eggs in. It's literally almost like a very, very thin frosting consistency. I'm very happy with that. All right, so now I'm gonna scrape it again. Yep, I'm scraping it again. I'm scraping the paddle, I'm scraping the whole bowl. Okay. And I'm going as fast as I can so you won't be bored. Okay, now, the last things we're going to put in is the sour cream. So this is half a cup of sour cream. You will double it if you want to make a full round cheesecake. This is once again for my sheet. So I need a thinner layer of cheesecake. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. use vanilla, not praline. All right, vanilla's going in. And now we're gonna mix it again. I've had this mixer for a really long time. I use it for my business. I've had it serviced once. But I think this 6-quart KitchenAid is probably got to be almost 20 years old. So that's a testament to KitchenAid. They are by far one of the best at home, close to commercial that you can get. I've got a bigger version. This is the 6-quart. Traditionally, people get the 4.5-quart, 5-quart, and then there's the 6-quart. I'm not sure if there's a bigger one. When I had my cheesecake business, I had a 20-quart for bigger jobs, but this is, you know, this is more than enough for me now. More than enough. All right, we're gonna scrape it again. And like I said, scraping is the most important part of this whole thing, okay? You wanna scrape the paddle. You gotta scrape it all into the bowl. It all makes a difference. Scraping the bottom. Make sure you see the bottom. Scraping the sides. It's messy, like I said, but extremely important. I don't care too much about getting messy, just so you know. You're gonna see me do things. I'm gonna get messy. Okay. All right, one more time. Before I put the eggs in, I'm gonna whip it. Smells really good. All right, it's not a lot. You know, you're not whipping it, you know, you're just keeping it smooth. Keeping it really smooth, and it's getting smoother and smoother as we go. Nice pumpkin color, smells like pumpkin. Okay, so now, scraping the paddle again, scraping the bowl again. All right, making sure you can feel the bottom, making sure you got all the ingredients mixed together. You only get a couple shots at this. If you mess up in the beginning, you're gonna have lumpy cheesecake. Okay, so now we're gonna start the eggs. There's only 2 eggs in this one. You're gonna double it though if you wanna make a big cheesecake. So I'm gonna do 1 egg at a time. So here's number 1. And we're gonna let that whip slowly. So you don't wanna go above the medium on this. You are making almost like a cheese custard. So you definitely don't want to go too crazy. You want to make sure that first egg is incorporated. And now I'm going to scrape it again. Like I said, cheesecake. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Scrape, scrape, scrape. If you take anything from me about cheesecake, scraping. Scraping the paddle, scraping the sides. The bottom. Don't forget the bottom. A lot of people do. Okay. And you can see I'm getting messier and messier. Okay, so we are doing good now. We got it in there. This is bugging me. So yes, I'm gonna use my fingers, but it's gonna bake, so don't worry about it. All right, now I'm messy. All right, I'm gonna let this start again. We're going to put the other egg in. There it goes. So if you're doing the bigger one, you're going to do 4, obviously. You're going to keep it slow, all right? I'm going to move this book out of my way. I've got all the ingredients except for 1 in there, so you don't need to look at that book anymore. Double check me. It's really doing good. It smells amazing. Up the bottom a little just to make sure it hits the bottom. I can hear it. All right, so now we're gonna shut it off and we're gonna do what? I'm gonna scrape it. All right, so we're scraping. Here we go, we're scraping. Scraping the bottom, scraping the sides, scraping the paddle. Making sure we get all of the clumps. You don't want any clumps at this point because you only have one ingredient left to put in, and when you put that ingredient in, the heavy cream, it's going to thin it out and that'll keep lumping. So you want to make sure you got them all. It's looking really good. Perfect. All right, we got a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. This is adding lightness to your cheesecake. Go around the bowl and make sure it gets in there. Hopefully, you know, you can run the mixer and do this because that's the best way to do it, but don't hurt yourself. Please don't put your fingers in the mixer. I will sometimes do that. Don't do that. I'm a trained professional. Pumpkin cheesecake. All right, now we're gonna scrape the paddle off. You see that? See that consistency? Okay. If I did my job right, no clumps are gonna fall from this paddle. No lumps, no clumps. And I did my job right. All right. So now I'm just gonna scrape this one last mix. All right. So that is the pumpkin cheesecake. Look at that. See, okay, that's the consistency you're looking for. It's thick, but pourable. Okay, see that? Smell-o-vision. Okay, remember that from Willy Wonka? I really wish that existed. All right, so now, do you remember I made earlier this week? I made my favorite gingerbread. No, I didn't. And so then I made this bottom of gingerbread cake. I already baked it. Put it in the freezer. I'm pulling it out now. Okay, so here we're gonna take our apple pie filling that we made on the stove. So what I will tell you is, you know, I was making this recipe up. So when I had it originally, it had too much liquid. I would say that instead of 2 cups of water, I would do 1 cup or even maybe half a cup of water. So I did drain out some of the liquid so that it was thick like this, okay? I still wanted it to be a little bit loose, but I did take some of the liquid out, just so you know. So when you do that recipe, cut down the liquid by a cup. All right, so we're gonna pour this apple pie filling on top of this sheet. This will be plenty for a round cheesecake. I think I'm gonna be like just making it for this sheet that I'm doing. Definitely need 4 apples. If your cake bottom is uneven, you can cut it, but some people like to have more cake, some people like to have less cake, so I don't ever get really disturbed about stuff like that. So some people will have a little more cake. I mean, this just did it. I mean, that's crazy. I definitely had to take out the liquid though. So like I said, I strained out a cup of liquid. Okay, and so now we've got our apple pie filling on the bottom on top of a baked gingerbread cake. Okay, so this is what it looks like. All right, there's the apples. Okay, now we're going to pour our pumpkin cheesecake very easily on top. Real easy. Not too crazy. I'm going to try to do the best I can not to disturb the apples as much as possible. The pumpkin cheesecake is a little thick, so it's, you know, you got to be careful. You don't want the apples to go in to the pumpkin layer. I mean, I guess it's okay if it does, but, you know, it's not what I envisioned. Sometimes when you make up a recipe, you have these preconceived notions of what you want it to look like. And, you know, for the most part, it works. I am touching this very lightly. And then sometimes it comes out completely different. This may happen. I don't know. But I am just trying to get this cheesecake part as even on here as possible. This is your chance to keep it even. And I decided to take my recipe and cut it in half because I figured that is about the amount that I would need after accounting for the filling. And I think, and I am right, I can't do math, but I can judge from a recipe how much I need. Well, maybe not in the apple pie thing, but you know, I was kind of winging it. I didn't know how thick it was going to get. I gotta be honest. I think if it got thicker, it would have been okay, but I said I was going to have some leftover for apple pie pancakes, but no, I didn't. All right, so now we are lightly getting this on here and making it so it can cook. Now, let me tell you something about cheesecake. Whatever height it is before you bake it, that is the height it's going to be when it's done. Cheesecake does not rise. If it rises, it falls. All right, so I just want to get this as even as possible. I don't, like I said, I don't care. Oh my gosh, look at that. Oh, that is going to be amazing, if I don't say so myself. All right, I still got it. All right, so now I'm going to bake this. Now, I don't know exactly how long it's going to take to bake. I have a rough idea because, like I said, I'm making this up as I go. So, the one thing about cheesecake, it's like a custard. You don't want it to break. Here's my big tip for you. Low and slow and steam. So, 300 degrees. Don't make it any higher than 300 degrees. Then you're going to put a pan in the oven, just a bowl, a pan, to create steam. And I guarantee you that will keep your cheesecake from cracking. You could pour the water in here too, and I've done that. I do that for my round cheesecakes. But for this one, these aren't as temperamental because we're talking about a very thin layer of cheesecake here. I am going to put this in at 300 degrees. I've got the steam pan in there already. I'm gonna do 30 minutes and I'm gonna see how it looks. You want your cheesecake to look dry on top. You don't want to see the shininess that you see here. Hopefully you can see it. You want to see it kind of like dry. It looks dry but moist. It's very hard to explain, but I will show it to you if I can. So we're going to put this in, we're going to bake this, and I'll see you on the next section.